This is Onward Nation, episode 178.
Get ready to find your recipe for success from America's top business owners here at Onward Nation with your host, Stephen Wessner.
Good morning, Onward Nation. I'm Stephen Wessner, and we all know that building and scaling a business is hard work. But when you have the right strategy, the right recipe for success to follow, the action steps become more like ingredients and can be added systematically into your business, one ingredient at a time. And that's why I am so excited to introduce our guest today, Craig Cody. Craig is a certified tax coach and the owner of the New York accounting firm, Craig Cody and Company. As a certified tax coach, Craig belongs to a select group of tax practitioners who've undergone extensive training and continued education on various tax planning techniques and strategies. Craig is passionate about helping business owners understand the difference between tax planning and tax paying and helping them save significant money. Craig is the co-author of the Amazon bestseller, Secrets of a Tax-Free Life. Welcome to Onward Nation, Craig.
Thank you for having me, Stephen.
Well, thank you for being here. And my guess is when I said Secrets of a Tax-Free Life, all of our business owners in Onward Nation said, yes, I think I'd like to know more about that. So Craig, but start us off. I've only given a brief glimpse into your background. And before we get to tax strategies and all this great conversation we're going to have, take a minute or two and tell us more about you and your business and experience, and then we'll dive in with the questions.
Okay, Stephen, I started as a CPA a little late in life. It's a second career for me. I'm a CPA for about 15 years now. And I always wanted to do it a little bit different. Okay. And that little bit of difference led me to specialize really in tax planning for our clients, where everybody seems to go to their CPA after the fact. And we've developed a practice where we're very proactive with our clients. And what I like to say to new clients is, or new prospects is, when is the last time your CPA came to you with an idea to help you save taxes? And I usually get a puzzled look, and we take it from there. So we specialize with business owners and helping them be proactive and coming up with legal strategies to reduce their tax burden.
That's awesome. And we're going to have an incredible conversation, but I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you for your 17 years of service in the New York City Police Department. So, Craig, before we get into the questions, I wanted to say thank you for your service, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's a tough world out there. And I think my prior life, as I like to call it, prepared me well to being a business owner and being able to help other business owners work their business and setting things up so they're very efficient on both a business basis and a tax basis.
Awesome. All right, Onward Nation, we're going to jump in. And Craig, this first section I like to call focus and preparation. Preparation because it's so true that greatness is available to all of us if we're willing to do the common things uncommonly well, which is a powerful lesson I learned from one of my mentors, Don Yeager. So Craig, if you want to call it a secret, if you want to call it a time-saving technique, is there something you can share with us to really start us off here that you use to help focus and prepare to tackle your most vital priorities each day?
Yes. I believe there's so many things pulling at all of us as business owners. So it's very important that we take time and blocks of time and turn off the outside world. So I have blocks of time during the day where I actually turn off my Outlook. And so I don't respond to any emails for a couple hours at a time. And, being a CPA firm, it's important that our clients are able to get in touch with us. Okay. So we always get back to our clients, the same day, but it's also important that we get work done. Okay. And when we're doing that work and we're doing the tax planning, that we're focused on what we're doing. And in order to do that, you need to close your door. You need to tell the staff not to forward any phone calls to you. And you have to really turn that Outlook off or that email service off so you could focus.
That's perfect. And so my guess is many Onward Nation listeners right now are thinking, oh gosh, that really pushes my comfort zone. How long did it take you where that just became kind of second nature to you and it didn't create any stress for you?
It was a struggle at first. Okay. But you learn that your clients are still there. Okay. They appreciate that you get back to them, and they also appreciate, knowing that, you're really focused on what you're doing. Okay. And, it's more of a head game, I think, with us as business owners than it is with our clients.
Perfect. Perfect. So, Craig, let's take that a little bit deeper. Is there, or do you have a habit or two you strongly believe contributes to your success?
I think it's really time management. It's so easy to get lost in the muddle of the day. So I tend to block out different times during the day to really concentrate on certain tasks. Okay. I'll answer emails during certain points of the day. Okay. And I won't be involved in doing other things or other tasks with staff members. But it all comes down to time management. How are you going to manage your time during the day and setting it up in an efficient manner?
Perfect. So are there any sort of techniques or tips, or I don't want to say tricks, I don't particularly like that word, but any sort of strategies that you use to really stay on schedule, to really stay disciplined, that how you're managing your time, you really follow through and stick with that?
Well, I think it's important to start the day the same way every day. And, when I come in the office in the morning, those first 2 hours are my time. Okay. They're not email time. They're not staff time. And my clients actually know that, I'm here. Okay. But they're not going to hear from me until after 11 o'clock. And the staff knows that, I'm here, but I'm not to be bothered. Okay. And it makes it better for everyone. They're actually able to solve a lot of their own problems. And it makes you very efficient, and you start the day correctly. And you could get a lot of work done in a 2-hour period when you're not being inundated with other tasks.
I like that. I mean, you've set up sort of like this perimeter, this security, if you will, around your schedule in a virtual sense, but then also in a physical sense too. And, if you're setting up these kind of habits, and at some point, you condition clients and you condition your teammates, to respect those, and then it just becomes sort of business as usual, right, Craig?
Yes, it does. And it works. And it leads to a less stressful environment.
Love that. And you already have a stressful environment enough because you're dealing with taxes. And so there are certain times of year where, boy, I'm sure quite stressful enough within your office and what you're working on. So let's transition into, you've started us off with some really good momentum here. Let's transition into, it might seem a little bit odd, but let's talk about overcoming obstacles. So Craig, tell us about that challenging time or situation that could have devastated, maybe even ruined your business, but you persisted. You made the tough decisions. So now that once painful memory serves more as an invaluable learning experience. Tell us that story.
I think it was a very tough decision we had to make. Years ago, we had a client that represented a significant part of our income. And this client was unreasonable, did not understand boundaries, was just a real thorn. But he represented a lot of money to us. And we struggled with a decision how to deal with it. It didn't matter how often we spoke with the client and tried to, nicely explain things. It didn't work. So it came down to the point where we actually had to fire the client. And it was tough because it represented a lot of money. Okay. But the client was taking up a lot of time. And it was a very tough decision, but we made it. And in a very short period of time, we recouped that income in a number of other clients. And we were actually became much more profitable.
Wow. Okay. So how did you muster the courage to be able to do that? Because my guess is when you were making that decision, I mean, did you know that you might recoup that revenue from these other clients, or did you have to kind of make that decision on faith and on gut that this is the right decision to make, but I don't know how we're going to make up this revenue?
We had to make it on the faith that, we've always grown, okay, and we'll continue to grow, and that this client was holding us back. And we just had to have faith in, our marketing, everything we've done, that it would, lead us to continued growth. And we did that, and it worked out. Okay. And once again, it's a head game. You have to be able to know in your head that, yes, I don't need to keep this client that's really not bad for us, not good for us. And I've talked to a number of practitioners since then, and we've discussed them doing the same thing. And I would say basically every time clients or friends that are in the business have done the same thing, it's worked out. So once again, it's head trash.
Wow. Head trash. Well, now that's an interesting way to, okay. So let's go down that path for a minute, because so are you saying that maybe any sort of negativity, or that the sky is falling, any of those types of things that are sort of in your head when you're considering making this decision, that's really just fear that you're making up those own myths about what might disastrous thing is kind of around the corner? Is that what you mean by head trash?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. I mean, listen, we can't predict the future, but we have to look at the past, and we have to look at how we've grown and the things we've done to grow. And if we're continuing to do that, okay, we have to be able to take those risks in order to grow our business. And I call it head trash because every time I've seen somebody struggle with the same problem or other problems in their business where they don't think they could go 2 hours without getting back to a client, okay, it's all in our head.
And what I love about what you're saying there, Craig, is that it's such a great reminder to Onward Nation that whether you want to call it head trash, whether you want to call it the inner critic, as I mentioned in the solo cast yesterday, or if you want to call it the imposter syndrome, it doesn't matter. But the point is that Craig is really driving home here so excellently is the fact that we do it to ourselves, and we are in our own way more often than the market is, that our clients are, or some sort of other actual true obstacle. So get out of your own way, make the difficult decisions, and get back to the business of growing your business. Right, Craig?
That is absolutely correct.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about critical skills. So, Craig, what do you think is the most critical skill that business owners need to master in order to thrive today?
Oh, there are so many skills you need. I think it's the ability to multitask but prioritize. Okay. I think that's very important because there can be a lot of different things going on. Okay. And you need to be able to delegate. You need to be able to prioritize what you're going to do and delegate things to others. And being able to multitask is a critical avenue that we all need to follow.
Indeed. So is there a process you use or criteria, or like how do you decide, okay, I'm going to keep this as one of my vital functions, but yet I'm going to delegate this to Jack and Mary and Sarah, whomever on your team? How do you decide what you keep and then what you delegate?
I think we have to look at, what really does need to be done wholly by myself. What can be done by senior staff? What can be done by, lower end staff? What can be done administratively? So I think that's one way to look at it is, is this a $250 an hour task, or is this a $25 an hour task? Okay. Like, such as, do I need to enter stuff into QuickBooks, or is that something that should be done by a bookkeeper? Okay. Do I need to confirm appointments, or can an administrative person do that? Okay. Do I need to input data into a tax return, or can a staff member do that? Okay. So I think it's easier when you look at it as, is it a $250 an hour task? Is it a $100 an hour task? Is it a $50 an hour task? So obviously the higher level task, the business owner or the principal should be doing. The lower level tasks we should be having other people do. And obviously you have to have a review process and a system in place to make sure they're done correctly.
That is so perfect. So thanks for taking that deeper. And it reminds me a lesson that I learned from Darren Hardy, and publisher of Success Magazine, and one of my personal mentors. And there was a day that he and I were, along with a group of us, we were working out sort of like the economics of delegating, very similar to the example that you just went through. And what was slightly different, although very kind of in line with what you just said, was, he asked our group to write down on a sheet of paper, the amount of revenue that we wanted our business to generate, let's say over the next 12 months. He said, okay, now divide that by 2,080, although I know that nobody in this room works 2,080 hours a year because you're all, high performing business owners, just like Onward Nation. But for the sake of the exercise, let's say it's 2,080. So now you have a number, right? You have as the business owner, you have your hourly wage because you are responsible for total revenue within your business. That is your hourly wage. So now let's say that, your hourly wage was, I don't know, $400. I'm just making up a number, or like in Craig's example, $250. And so if you wouldn't pay somebody $250 to book that appointment, or if you wouldn't pay somebody $250 to do the bookkeeping entries, like what Craig was saying, then why on earth would you pay yourself to do that? That makes no sense, Onward Nation. So if your hourly wage based on the revenue of the total business divided by 2,080 is X hundreds of dollars, and you're doing those tasks that, to Craig's recipe, that you can delegate to somebody who you may be paying $20, $25, $30 an hour, that's good economics, as long as then the trade-off is you don't move on to some other $25 or $30 task. You actually move on to things that are higher level tasks that move the business forward. So great example, Craig. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Great.
So let's talk about mentorship. Tell us about the most influential lesson, Craig, that you ever learned from one of your mentors, and how that lesson helped you become the business owner you are today.
One word: systems. I learned somewhat early on the value of systems. We need to have systems in place for pretty much every task that needs to be done. Okay. We don't know what tomorrow is always going to bring. And sometimes there are different types of emergencies that may call you out of the office. And if you have systems in place, those things can still be carried on even if you're not there. So fairly early on, I learned the importance of systems, so that if you're not here, there's a system in place to make sure that task is taken care of. If Johnny Jones is not here, somebody could step into his shoes and look at the paperwork and know, okay, I have to follow the system. This needs to be done. It's efficient. It provides value to the business on a potential resale basis. And it really minimizes mistakes.
Boy, I sure agree with you. We're big fans of systems here at Predictive ROI. It gives us the ability to do everything that we do on a daily basis as well, and become more efficient and more effective for clients. So this really segues beautifully into this next question that I was planning on asking, because systems is one of my favorite words. So if you had a magic reset button as it relates to starting your business, Craig, specifically, what systems would you go back and put into place sooner rather than later, and why?
The system I would probably go back and put in sooner than later is we, about 2 years ago, we added a very comprehensive piece of software that pretty much tracks everything we do. It can track time, it can track due dates, it can track where you are, it can track contacts with the IRS. And it's one total enclosed system. Okay. So we had struggled with, as far as tracking, a number of different pieces of software that were not integrated. And adding this together has saved us substantial time since we've done this. So we have, instead of have multiple pieces of software for our systems, all our systems now are in one piece of software. So everything about that client, everything is together.
Perfect. Well, that makes a lot of sense. It really sounds like that particular system has really become, I don't know, what's the right metaphor? Maybe the engine behind your business. Would that be an accurate kind of description?
Correct.
Okay. Perfect.
In my business, there's due dates. There's a lot of things like that you can't miss. Okay. And they're not always April 15th and March 15th. So for us, having something that very robust to manage all the systems was very important.
Perfect. So this next question about strategy, I know it's going to be challenging because I'm asking you to distill it down into one. So I'm kind of asking sort of an impossible question here, or an unfair question, perhaps I should say. But if you would be able to distill it to one, what one strategy that if business owners and their teams could consistently apply every day, do you think would compound into big wins for them?
This may sound silly, but consistent marketing. Somebody once told me early on, marketing is like breathing. If you stop, you die. So I think it's important to integrate marketing into your everyday activities. Okay. And I'm not just talking about doing mailers and stuff like that. I'm talking about, coffee and lunch and dinner and phone calls, those kind of personal touch marketing.
Wow, that's excellent. I love that. I was just writing that down. I think you just gave me I've been taking notes through our conversation here, and I think you just gave me the title of this episode. So, but let me just give that back to you and make sure I got it right. So marketing is like breathing. If you stop, you die.
That is correct.
It sounds silly to say. I love that because it sounds so, so morbid, but it's so accurate. It's a really powerful thing to say.
Right. We're running a business. We have staff, we have expenses, we have overhead. Okay. You need to pay the bills. And, when we want to grow, we need to market.
Well, so let's chat a little bit about growing and thinking of that in the context of hiring. So let me ask you to fast forward 1 year and you're looking back on the hiring decisions you are considering making now. And imagine the people you hired today exceeded your highest expectations. What recipe or strategy did they consistently apply that delivered the most value to your business?
I would say a focused team approach. Okay. Because it's really about the good of the team and the business versus the good of the individual. And when I say that is staff may have 5 clients that they work on and somebody else may have 5 clients that they work on. And during different points, there are times when one client may need more attention than another client. And we need to be able to not look at just what we're assigned to do, but what's really best for the good of the team. So I would say hiring people that understand it's not just about the job that they do, but it's about the performance of the team as a whole.
Love that. And my guess is your years of service taught you that, really, really well too. And what a powerful principle to now bring into your practice today.
Correct. Yes, very much so.
Wow, that's awesome. Love it. So Craig, here's my last question for you. Imagine you're standing in front of a room of brand new business owners, people just like you when you were starting out about 15 years ago. So they're battling their way through the fears and the worries and the doubts and struggles to try and find their footing. They're working through all that head trash, like you said. So what would be 2 or 3 strategies you would recommend that they focus on to best ensure success?
Well, I think it's really, we go out there and we make the money. We have to also look at keeping more of what we make. Okay. So tax planning should be an important part of what we all do as business owners. Now, I co-authored a book called Secrets of a Tax-Free Life. It is an Amazon bestseller. And anyone that would like a free copy of that, they can go to our website at craigcodyandcompany.com/Onward Nation and enter their name, address, email, and we will send you a free copy of that book. Okay. I wrote a chapter in the book, and it's all about things that we can do as business owners to reduce the tax liability that we have to pay. So we focus so much on making the money, and we always wind up looking in the rearview mirror when it comes time to actually what strategies we could have employed to keep more of that money.
Well, okay. So in this is a great, gosh, I hope you don't feel like I'm putting you on the spot here, but as in this particular question, when we're talking about, some tactical or strategies, specific things that the business owners can do, love the offer of the book, by the way. That's a huge value. Thank you. So let's connect it to the book. If you're to think about the context of the book that Onward Nation can get from you for free, what would be a couple of things that as they get the book, like you would direct them to right away as strategies that business owners ought to be paying attention to? Are there a couple in the book they ought to address and read first?
Well, there are a number of different strategies in the book, and depending on your particular situation, I would not make a blanket statement of what strategies they should look at. It's important that they really sit down with a professional, okay, and they go through an analysis and they see what strategies really are best for them. And some of these strategies could be simply, are you the correct entity structure for what you do, okay? People form LLCs, S corporations, partnerships, and they're typically not formed for what's the best tax strategy for this entity. So that's one thing. Different things you can do, whether it's real estate. Are you effectively using, a home office, your travel? When are you allowed to travel with your spouse? There's a whole host of things. But, when we do a tax plan for a client or a potential client, okay, we typically see a $15,000 to $20,000 a year in annual savings. So that's not just one time. That's every year. Okay.
Oh, right. Wow.
Sometimes we've had one where it was almost $500,000 in tax savings. So it's important. Okay. And it's, money that we all get to save for when we decide to retire or travel or buy shoes or whatever it is that we want to do.
So when those are big numbers and those are impressive numbers. And so let me make sure that I'm understanding correctly. So Onward Nation can get the book. It's packed full of strategies that could be valuable to them in varying degrees because of their current structure and their business and maybe their industry and their kind of their personal life and that kind of stuff. But when you guys work on tax planning for clients, and I shouldn't say you guys, you and your firm of experts, you've seen, these are such staggering numbers. I just want to make sure that I'm getting this context correct. You have seen annual savings of between 20 to, in one case, $500,000, and that's a tax savings?
Exactly.
Oh my word.
The average is easily $15,000 to $20,000 a year. That's the average.
Wow.
Yes.
That is staggering.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Wow.
And typically what would happen is a client would, we work with clients that are not located where we're located, and, we analyze their tax returns. We have a WebEx or Skype call, and we go through them and we explain what we expect their tax savings to be. Okay. And obviously it's always better to do it, sooner than later. Okay. Especially when you meet with your accountant this year and you find out, you have this huge tax bill. Okay, what can I do the next year so I don't have such a large tax bill?
Okay, so I want to make sure that we get the URL correct here for the book. So it's CraigCodyandCompany.com/Onward Nation.
That is it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Onward Nation, generous offer from Craig to go get his book for free. That is amazing. So Craig, thank you for offering it up. This has been awesome. But before we close out and say goodbye, Craig, is there any final advice that you want to share? Is there anything you think we might have missed? And then tell us the best way to connect with you aside from the free book offer.
The best way to connect with us is our phone number is 516-869-4051. Or via email at craig@ccodycpa.com. We actually send out a weekly newsletter that is quite entertaining. It's not your typical tax tips accountant's newsletter. It's basically involves real life tax situations and tax planning situations. So that would be the two best ways to reach out to us. And just remember, we can all plan. There's something we can all do, okay, to legally reduce our tax liability.
That is great parting words of wisdom. And I've had an opportunity to work with a certified tax coach as well in our business in predictive ROI, and the result outcomes have been amazing. So I hope that Onward Nation will go to your website. I hope that they will request your book. I hope that they will study it and then reach out to you. It's off the charts. So Onward Nation, these were invaluable insights that Craig was kind enough to share with you. But no matter how many notes you took, or how often you go back and re-listen to this episode, or to even go and request Craig's book, the key is you have to take action on what you learned. You have to apply it and accelerate your results in your business. And Craig, it's very kind of you to come on the show, to take time out of your schedule. We're in tax prep season now, when time is very sacred. Time is always sacred, but especially during this particular time of year. We all have the same 86,400 seconds in a day. And I'm grateful for you to come onto the show, to be our mentor, to be our guide, to be our teacher, so we could all move our businesses onward with gusto and to save some tax money in the process. Thank you so much, my friend.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
This episode is complete, so head over to onwardnation.com for show notes and more food to fuel your ambition. Continue to find your recipe for success here at Onward Nation.